listen to the show and peep what these dudes bring. If you didn't know, it's an orange and blue thing. Hope to win the championship and a few rings. We're talking baseball. It's an orange and blue thing. Walk off if the game's tied like shoestrings. It's a Mets podcast, orange and blue thing. Beat the other team with defense and a few swings. LFGM, it's an orange and blue thing.
What's up, Mets fans? Happy Monday, wherever you may be. This is Orange and Blue Thing, and we are coronavirus-free, at least for the time being. I am Darren Meenan. That's Pete McCarthy.
Oh,
what's up, Pete?
Here we go. How we doing?
My stomach, the people at home haven't heard, maybe they did during that little intro. Our mics were live. My stomach is growling like crazy. I got to get some food in me after the show. But it's a good day so far. The sun's shining, 60 degrees. Hopefully,
beautiful. It's like we're going up to 70, I think, today.
I'm hoping in 17 short days we do have a day similar to this out at Citi Field. It's going to be a great day. I hope it's going to be a great day. What's up, Lizzie?
What's up, dudes?
So as we ended the show last week, we were pumping up Lizzie's charity event, what is it called?
Cycle for Survival.
Cycle for Survival. What was your goal again that you wanted to reach? You were a little short.
As a team, we wanted to reach 40,000 because that's what we got last year.
Uh-huh.
Me personally, my goal was 2,000.
And you reached that.
And I reached it. But guess what? On Wednesday night, MJ texted me and she said, because you have so many individual donors, if you get 20 more new donors for this year, you could raise potentially $5,000 for the group.
Because they match it.
There was a charity that was giving $5,000 to somebody
Gotcha.
doing all these donations. So I got on the horn on Wednesday night at 9:00. She after my Zumba class, she texted me. So at 9:00, I started texting everybody, like my mom, my sister, all the people that didn't donate. Just donate $5. I just need 20 new donations. The next day, we got it.
Well,
so that was So I ended up raising close to $7,500.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
But unfortunately, or fortunately for their cardiovascular abilities, they didn't get to run. They didn't get to do the event.
The ride.
They got canceled.
It was canceled because of the coronavirus.
Coronavirus is canceling things left and right.
There's a lot of people that are
their immune system, right?
Yes, currently going through treatment and all that. So it's obviously could be detrimental for them. So they canceled.
Yeah.
I was so bummed. Because the event is really fun.
Well, I'm sorry that got canceled, but I mean, such a great cause. Either way, the money gets donated. So
so I think we're close to 45,000 now as a team.
Oh, you can still donate.
Wow. Yes, you could still donate.
So Pete, right before we went live, I saw a tweet. I wasn't sure if it was true or not, so we tried to quickly check. I saw you saw it on Bloomberg as well, Bloomberg News. St. Patrick's Day might be canceled in Ireland.
Yeah. No, that's
crazy.
It is. They're going to cancel the parades.
I mean, it's 100%.
Yeah, no parades in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day.
Wow.
So you could still celebrate the day, but everything's on a smaller scale. And you see in Europe, Italy, for example, the sporting events, no people in attendance at the sporting events.
It's gotta be so weird.
Until April 3rd, and then they'll look it over again. I mean, it's wild. I think it's only a matter of time until you see more sporting events and group gatherings canceled here in the U.S.
South by Southwest, which is huge in Texas, that got canceled. I know they're talking about possibly canceling, and maybe they already have Coachella in California. The NBA talked about possibly playing to empty arenas. I know LeBron wasn't happy about that. Do you remember
the NCAA tournament is coming up as well?
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that they're looking at. I know a couple of teams didn't want to travel to Seattle this past week, and so they canceled those games. So, there's all this stuff that's up in the air depending on how the next couple of weeks go, and then you start thinking about, maybe opening day and how the baseball schedule might be impacted.
Don't you dare.
I don't know. I don't think anybody really has a firm grasp on all of this right now, but it's certainly something that there's a lot of precautions being taken, and these group events, that's where you have issues. I was just reading today there was a priest in D.C. who ended up having the coronavirus, and he might have sickened like 600 people. And
What?
you think about
Oh my God.
all the handshakes and the contact that you have with a priest at church, feeding food, maybe even, I shouldn't say food, but doing the
Eucharist.
communion
Right,
directly
right.
into your mouth. I mean, there's a lot of contact there. So these are
Oh my God.
Well, a
these
lot
are
of
the
it-
kind of things that are, impacting people, whether or not they want to go into large groups. And look, I mean, there's smarter people than me about this virus. If you're, a certain age and you have a good immune system, then it's maybe not something you have to take total precautions with.
Yeah.
But if you're not in that situation where you are older or you're around people like that, then you have to be super careful, I guess, about where you're going, washing your hands, and all the basic stuff everyone's been talking about.
It's crazy, man. I mean, we joked about this a couple weeks ago. So I didn't think it was going to get to this point. We're talking about the cruise, and you're saying you didn't want to go on. I think that cruise ship that was in limbo, I think, is still out there somewhere floating around.
They're bringing it
docking
back today, yeah.
I think, supposedly. But
Yeah.
the Shoreham Wading River schools out here are closed today. I saw on News 12.
Hofstra's closed. Yeah.
Something in Southampton's on lockdown. So it's getting crazy. And I don't know if it's more... I'm not saying hype. I'm not saying that this isn't a serious threat, but I think that, I was talking to Megan about this before. Maybe on the open air situations, like an opening day, might not be as scary as being in like the Garden, let's say, where you're in close
don't think it
contact. But
matters.
I was talking to Pete about it. Like on his way here, he takes the train. You're definitely seeing more people wearing masks and gloves and things like that.
Well, the
right?
big thing would be like, let's say they do the game, everything's normal for opening day, like Brandon Nimmo hits a home run to start the day. Are you high-fiving everyone around you? Right? Like just little things like that. I've found greeting people is really weird because you don't typically you shake hands, all right? And now it's like, oh, is hugging like better than shaking
No.
hands now?
No.
I guess that's not good.
Just no
Some
contact.
people don't want, you
No
around
contact,
them
yeah.
at all, and you kind of have to gauge what people are. But like, I saw someone on Friday that I hadn't seen in a year. I was very excited to see them. I'm like, and then what do you do? Like, do you want to embrace or it's very very strange with that, depending on how people are reacting to it and what their situation might be. Like, I don't know. I'm not, living my life scared that I'm going to get this thing, but there are a lot of people that that are.
Some people that on like a normal day they're already germaphobes are probably freaking out right now. Like people who just seriously have like a serious phobia, like Howie Mandel or someone who doesn't like to ever really touch or anything. Like
Well,
now
you say the hand sanitizer is all sold out. No,
Yeah.
I have two family members that are already OCD about so many things, and they're on another level. Like my brother-in-law is like not even leaving the house. He's prepared for doomsday.
I put up a tweet about that this morning. So just to get a pulse of the followers in the Seven Lines Twitter account, if they happen to vote or whatever, choose an option. You're not really voting on something, but it's a little less than 3,000 here. Schools are closing. Major events are being canceled. Brody is now elbow bumping fans instead of handshakes. How concerned are you about the coronavirus? A little less than 3,000 people chimed in here. Not at all got 31.7%. Mildly got 54.4%. Very was 11.9%. And never leaving the house got 2.1%. So you said you noticed this yesterday. Our buddy Joe DeMayo, who I think is going to be calling in a little bit, was down at spring training this past weekend, and he noticed that Brody was doing like elbow bumps with people.
Yeah, I've been doing elbow bumps with people.
Have you?
Yeah. Certain people, it depends on what it is. Like if it's someone I haven't seen forever, I'm excited. Then you want to embrace it some way. But someone I see routinely at work or whatever, you just give a little elbow dap kind of thing and call it a day. It's like, okay, it's good to see you. You're fine. Usually do like a fist pound or something. And now you do the elbow thing.
Kelly and Amelia went to the movies yesterday, and she brought like wipes with her, like it's those like recliners. I feel like people are going to be going to the movies now with like Lysol spray on like a chair, because like the recliner one's basically like sitting in someone's living room. It's kind of gross if you think about it. But she like wiped down the armrest
Andrew
a little
brings
bit.
wipes to those kind of chairs,
I wipe
regardless.
down remotes when I go to hotels. I wipe down the remotes or wipe down the doorknobs. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, Andrew wipes down everything.
But with what is going on right now as a parent, I think it's harder for you. Your daughter's so young, but ours is about to turn 5 now. It's like, listen, stuff's dirty. Don't touch your face. She's going to school now. All these germs in school. Like trying to be more conscious of wash your hands, use sanitizer if you can. But she's 5. She's still gonna like forget.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be part of it. I was thinking too. The idea of these games being played, let's say, in empty ballparks or empty arenas, like what the NBA is talking about, to some degree, it's well, do you even play the games, right? But I was thinking, if we reach the point, and it wouldn't be that you're necessarily like quarantined at home, but there may be a lot of people who say, you know what, it's not worth going out. I'm going to spend as much time at home as possible. Like, you're going to have something to watch. Right? Like, it is kind of important, sports in this country, when there have been tough times and things like that. Like, it's a sense of normalcy that some stuff is going on, even if it's not normal at all in an empty arena, and you kind of get a feel for that. But to some degree, there is an importance, I think, in the big picture for, the NCAA tournament, for some of these events to go on, as long as you're not putting, the players at risk of spreading it to one another. I think that'll be one of those big turning points. Is you now see like politicians are coming down with this illness. If that were to happen to a professional athlete now, well, you're all touching the same basketball, the same baseball, whatever it might be. That person wouldn't be able to play while they're sick, but then you could spread it around. It's just, there's a lot of unknowns, I think, over the next few weeks, how this is going to play out. But I think if you've been following this, and like you said, we were kind of tongue-in-cheek about it as recently as, 2 weeks ago?
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
And now you see the way the stock market is reacting and everything else.
God.
It just seems to be ramping up a lot more as in a very quick fashion here. Like 2 weeks from now, when we're talking about opening day, who knows where we're at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. The thing I was thinking about as well, the whole thing with the gloves and wearing gloves and stuff like that. We talk to and say what's up to hundreds of people at like an opening day tailgate party. So like you said, in a couple of weeks, things might be very different where you're deciding like, hey, how do you want to really
I'm going to wear a sign on my forehead that says, don't touch me. Just don't
Step
touch
back.
me.
It'll become the norm really fast. Like, you just won't greet people in that way, and you have another way. Like, right, the people have been joking around about doing like foot taps or something, or you could bow like they do in Asia. Like when I went to Japan, I love bowing. It was fun. The more respect you have for someone, the farther down you go, and it's just like a cultural difference there. But obviously, you're not touching.
Right.
So it's different ways to acknowledge people, I guess.
Do you remember that game in right after a lot of the riots were going down in Baltimore? They played in an empty stadium. So they played. So I guess the only people that were there were the players, the media, and the camera crew. But I can't remember who the player was. I don't know who the Orioles were playing that day. But they, you know how when they come off the field and they throw the new ball out or whatever, and they toss into the stands, they kept doing it. So there's nobody there, but they kept pretending that they were almost kind of playing for a packed house. But yeah, things are getting crazy. Things are changing. I know a lot of people that watch this don't care about Supercross, but there's one of the big guys that's in the running for the championship this year. He went on Twitter, Instagram a couple days ago, and put out like a quick little press release, like, hey, until further notice, I'm canceling all of my public appearances, because they do like a lot of meet and greets. They shake 1 million hands a day, and a lot of the guys actually, as early as a few months ago, were already wearing gloves, like racing gloves, to a lot of the press meetings and things like that with fans. Now he's just canceling them. He says, hey, I hope my fans understand. I'll make it up to you. So things are changing, and we'll see what happens. And every day I feel like more cases pop up. But not to do just a complete coronavirus talk here. A little housekeeping. I did put up something on Saturday morning that told the fans that wanted to potentially shop over the weekend that one person's transaction was going to be completely free. So we do that. We do a similar promotion when we do our in-person sales with the truck, where we give each fan a ticket. The ticket goes in the box. We pick the ticket out at the end of the day, and that person's transaction is free. So what I noticed was, since Lizzie wasn't here on Friday, a lot of the Friday orders didn't go out as well. So I kind of felt like that was unfair to not include those people as well, because if their order was pending, they shouldn't really be excluded from this special promotion. So without further ado, I'm going to use this little number generator here like we do for our first pitch opportunities.
You're doing it now? How fun.
Doing it right now. So, Liz, you're going to have to look
Awesome.
this up. So I already have it plugged in here, the order numbers for the starting and the end. I'm going to click generate, and then that person's transaction will be free. So order number 196133. If you could look that up, Lizzie. 196133. I hope it's a sticker and not like 5 sweatshirts, but
Oh.
what's it worth? You don't have to say what they got, because it might be a gift, but is it? She's laughing.
They got one calendar.
No way.
Yeah.
196133. One calendar?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you got me so nervous just now.
I know. I tried to.
Thanks. All right, good job. All right, 196133. If that's you, I'm not going to say the name because who knows if it's a gift, but 196133, that calendar is on us. I thought I lost my shirt on that one. For those of you who don't know, we are going up to Syracuse this June. So those tickets went up a couple hours ago. Go to the7line.com, click on the blog area. I don't have the numbers in front of me for the sales. I think they had 1,000 tickets reserved last year. I know they sold out, so definitely pop on over and join us if you want to go up to Syracuse with us. It's their second year up there. Minor league baseball is so important to not only the teams but the local communities, and it's really a fun time. So head on over. The tickets are available now. They are $70 a person. It includes the jersey, which I'm wearing last year's right now, the jersey, the hat, the ticket to the game, a couple beers, some food, post-game fireworks show, group photo on the field after the game, and one fan will be selected to throw out the first pitch. So just like we did last year with like that pick a random number, we do the same with the whole spreadsheet of orders, and if you win, you will get to go throw out the first pitch for us, well, for the group. This week's share contest, if you're watching, I promoted that a little bit. I have a whole stack.
Look at these goodies.
It's a heavy box. A whole stack of Mets stuff from last year's promotions. The Mets hook us up with a lot of this stuff. So Pete's got a couple over there. I think that's the squirrel shirt. All of this stuff is going to be given to 3 different people. So we're going to split up all this stuff into 3 different boxes. We got some WB Mason, Mets trucks, a couple bobbleheads.
That's fun.
A couple T-shirts, some beanies, all this random stuff, a couple things from the Cyclones here. All of this will be separated into 3 boxes. So the way you can get it is if you're watching live right now on Twitter, click the little retweet button. Also, that goes for Periscope. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button. And if you're watching afterwards on IGTV on the replay, just write in the comments, I want some free Met stuff. We'll scroll through and pick someone out at random to win this week's prize package. Thanks to the Mets for hooking us up. So besides the coronavirus stuff, a lot of Mets fans were partaking in some booing this weekend, or at least yesterday.
There's 29 teams that are booing one team whenever they come in.
Against the Houston Astros. So if anyone thought that this was going away after spring training or once spring training game started, obviously that is not the case.
No, this will be all year.
You think?
Oh, yeah. There's anger from the players, from opposing fans, even Mets fans who, what do the Mets fans care? The Astros beat the Yankees twice, right? It's not like you have some personal animosity with the Astros. It's just the idea of, guys that cheated the sport and didn't seem very apologetic about it initially, especially. So these guys are going to hear it all year long. And it's interesting, some people think that it's going to wear out and wear down the Astros over the course of 162 games. I tend to think it'll be a rallying cry for them, and they're going to be like the Spygate Patriots in 2007 and want to stick it to everybody and prove how good they actually are. And look, the Astros have a lot of talent that is still a very good team, regardless of whether or not they're going to have some of the advantages that they may have had the last couple of years. But I think they're still going to win a lot of games, and this is going to unite them in some ways because they're gonna have to box in with one another. I mean, it's gonna feel like 26 guys against the world with the way that this season goes down. Is, like I said, what do Mets fans care about the Astros necessarily? But they're getting booed in Port St. Lucie, everywhere else they go. I mean, forget about it. When they go to Yankee Stadium in September, and it's too bad it's that late in the season, the Astros are absolutely going to hear it, and they're going to hear it everywhere except maybe in their home ballpark of Houston.
Do you think that this might actually help ticket sales? People might want to go to games just to boo them?
Oh, yeah. Well, it'll help the road ticket sales probably. But, yeah, I think that would be a draw, that there's a villain. I think it's going to help TV ratings and things when the Astros are on, because generally baseball fans care about their team and nothing else. But you're going to tell me you're not going to be curious when Houston goes to Boston for the first time, or to the Yankees for the first time, or even on opening day. I don't know if they open up at home or on the road, but especially that first road game and how they're welcomed there. I mean, you're going to be curious about those types of things, how opposing teams are going to react. Do we see beanballs? We haven't seen a ton of that I thought was intentional over the course of spring training, but in the regular season, that could obviously start to change a little bit. So, all of that will make for, I think, a more interesting season generally as to what's happened nationally. And now you have a villain. You have a villain in the sport other than the Yankees for the first time in how long?
So I don't know if you follow this account. It's pretty entertaining. I personally, on the Seven Lines account, I muted the word Houston. But now it's kind of like this stuff. I eat into it. So the 2020 Astros Shame Tour, it's at Asterisk Tour on Twitter. They're making an app. So the app is basically just a garbage can, and when you tap it, it makes a noise. So I guess their hope is that like 40,000 people download this app and all push the button at the same time during a game to make some noise.
Okay.
We'll see. But
well, they're getting a lot of followers on that account. That account, as far as I know, it just started like a month ago. And what are we up to?
180,000.
180,000 followers, an account that's just trying to shame the Astros and showing examples of when they are being shamed. There is interest in how the Astros will react and what's going to happen to this team this year in a way that I can't remember there being a team in baseball that everyone was so interested in going into a year. I mean, forget about a team that went out and spent a lot of money, added a bunch of free agents or steroid guys or a Barry Bonds-led team. I mean, you name it. I don't think there's ever been a team that people are just kind of locked into in baseball, at least as far as I can remember over the last 25, 30 years.
So we got a man on the line who was actually down at the game yesterday, hearing all the boos and all the chatter firsthand. It's Mr. Joe DeMayo. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Darren, what's going on?
We're doing all right. So all the best. I know that you wrote on Twitter. Wrote on Twitter today. All the best to your mom. I know she's going into the knife today for knee replacement, huh?
Yeah. She's been dealing with this for quite a while and had a couple other things, not major things, a couple things that held up getting this done. But she's getting first knee now. She'll get another one, I don't know, soon enough, and she'll kind of roll that right into retirement. So she'll be up and running the bases in no time.
All the best to her. So listen, I wanted to get you on the line today because you were down there firsthand yesterday, hearing the boos in person and kind of taking in all things Mets. I know you saw Mr. David Wright there, and how was the weekend for you?
Oh, it was awesome. Spring training's fun, as you guys know. Flew down Thursday, went to the game in West Palm Friday night against the Astros, went to the game on Saturday, and only wore a T-shirt. Huge mistake, 63 degrees and like 18-mile-an-hour winds. I was freezing, man. Wasn't in the sun.
I saw people on TV. They had blankets out in Port St. Lucie. It's like, isn't it Florida down there? What's going on?
I should have taken note when I was walking in, and the guy goes, "You don't have long sleeves?" I went, "No, I'll be fine." Yeah, it was tough. But, no, and then yesterday was really cool. I sat a few rows away from where David and he was sitting with Jeff Wilpon. And I think I was one of the first people to kind of notice he was there. No one was really going up to him. Uh-huh. I noticed him, and in between the innings, I went up, and we just, talked for a minute. And he said he's healthy, so I could report he said he's feeling great. And, just took a quick picture because I never figured I'd ever meet David. So I'm not crazy take a picture with everyone kind of guy, but David Wright, I'm going to do it.
So I'm not sure where this fan Jim was sitting. I know he comes to a lot of games with us, but he wrote in response to the video that you shared where the fan behind you or near you was banging on the garbage can, which I thought was hilarious. But it said security came up to us in Section 9 and told us the Mets are requesting us to stop booing. Can this be true? Do you think the Mets asked anyone to stop booing, or do you think that was more so like, hey, stop banging on this garbage can, it's annoying?
It might have been stop banging on the garbage can potentially, but people were booing for almost the whole game. Once you get to the 6th, 7th inning, people start bouncing out of the game anyway.
Yeah.
But everyone was. It was loud. It was loud. So I was sitting there and I was saying, they're getting this in 5,000 people or whatever the spring training game. Wait until they go to Yankee Stadium and whenever they go there, April, May, whatever. Wait till they go there. It's going to be crazy. They're gonna hear it bad all year.
Well, how was it?
Marisnik even got some. Marisnik even got some booze.
Oh no!
And he's on the Mets.
Well, that's surprising to hear. But what about when you were down there, though? When you went to their game and it was their home game, was there like Mets fans there giving it to them too, or like do they kind of lay off?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See,
yeah.
So it's going to be a thing.
Met fans travel.
I feel like, and the more you try to tell people to stop doing something, like we were talking about the signs a couple episodes ago, right when the season started, when they took the signs away. I feel like if you start telling fans, hey, stop booing, stop doing this, kind of like the beer snake in Chicago. If you start telling people you cannot boo or don't make a sign, they're going to do it even more. So Listen, I want to give you a platform here because you've been high on Mr. Rosario for a number of years. And you wrote on Twitter yesterday when you saw him in the on-deck circle, a big breakout season coming for Rosario. So what's your basis here? Is this a hunch? Do you have any inside info here? What's your case here?
Yeah, so my case, obviously, you could just go look how he performed in the second half last year. And his line drive percentage was up. His hard hit ball percentage was up. His defense improved. He kind of really improved across the board. So everything was really good. And from what I'm hearing about this spring, and I saw his triple and double this weekend, is he's more aggressively pulling the ball. And early on in his career, he was kind of going the other way, playing right center. But I think that's kind of the first step into really taking that big jump forward offensively is obviously hard hit percentage, line drive percentage, barrel percentage, getting nerdy with you. But that kind of stuff. And now you're seeing him really pull the ball, which is really that kind of like final step. Because it's so often in players' development that they're not naturally pulling the ball. They're naturally going the other way. And you're now seeing him turn on fastballs from Lance McCullers Jr., turn on fastballs from Justin Verlander. And, I think you're looking at a guy that he's going to be batting eighth probably. So I think at least early on it'll be kind of struggle to put up, some gaudy statistics per se. But I think, if he comes out hot, maybe they can move him up because he has the speed. He even got better at stealing in the second half because for being so fast, he kind of struggled stealing bases. And he even looked a little better doing that in the second half last year. So I think he's a guy that could potentially move up in the order as the year goes on. And my bold prediction is he makes an all-star team.
Wow. And you got his jersey. You already own his jersey, right? You got it a couple of years ago?
I got it from you, man.
Oh,
you
yeah,
put it
you
up on
did.
eBay and no one wanted it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Joe. So listen, we'll see you out there at Citi Field in just a couple of weeks. Can't believe spring training is almost over. Opening day is just around the corner. And all the best tomorrow, all right?
All right. Appreciate it, guys. We'll talk soon.
Be good, Joe.
So Joe DeMayo, go follow him on Twitter, PSL to Flushing. He knows an incredible amount about the team, and he doesn't even do this for a living. It's more so, he works for SNY on a little freelance side. He writes for the 7 Line on occasion. But
no, he's very knowledgeable about the young players coming
Yeah.
up through the system and who's next. There's been a couple of guys that have had impressive springs. I think Andres Jimenez, who's been a big-time prospect for the Mets over the years, but it kind of dropped off after a rough season last year. He's impressing at spring training. David Peterson, another guy, a starting pitcher, is a former first-round pick. Looks like someone who will be part of that depth if something doesn't work out in the rotation. The Mets already kind of 6 guys for 5 spots, but you figure we'll see David Peterson in a Mets uniform at some point over the course of this year. But Joe's always great about knowing who's next and who's exciting down there in spring training.
hence the Twitter name, PSL to Flushing. Very smart there. So special shout out to our friends from Dugout Mugs. This is an incredible deal. They are giving away, Lizzie, which you haven't heard about this yet, but this is incredible. Free. These
Why
are
do you do
free.
this
They're
free?
They're giving away 100 knob shots for free. No hitch, except for you got to pay the shipping. So that's fair enough.
I
You
want one.
can't expect them to cover the ship. Well, this one's mine. You can't have this one. So go to dugoutmugs.com/OABT, and the first 100 shoppers will get a knob shot for free. So very simple. Just go to that website. It automatically brings you to the listing if you go to dugoutmugs.com/OABT. And all you got to do is select if you want a Mets one. It's not limited to Mets. So if you want to buy a gift for a family or a friend,
It's highly recommended you go Mets.
highly
there.
recommended Mets. But if you happen to know or associate yourself with anyone who's not a Mets fan, you can also pick one up for them. I don't know if it's limit 1 per customer. Or maybe, I don't know. I know it's first 100. So definitely go to Dugout Mugs, great partner of the show, and we're working with them on a whole bunch of stuff coming out soon on the 7 Lines website. So we got our own custom mugs coming soon. So dugoutmugs.com, check them out, and definitely pick up a knob shot today. Pete, we got some ice cold beers in front of us. I know you can't enjoy one today because you got another stacked schedule with your
Got some extra
athletic
work.
podcast and SNY and Sirius tonight, but that doesn't stop me and Lizzie from cracking a cold one.
Hey-o.
So
Gotta miss out.
I'm going to do like the across the room cheers. It's time to chill with a little Coors Light. We have some excellent plans with Coors Light this year that we are not ready to announce yet. So cheers, Lizzie.
Cheers.
Wait,
are you allowed to
Pete.
cheers?
I'll
with
be back next week.
coronavirus?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Can you cheer? Well, you could cheers with
The bottles, the can is fine. You haven't touched it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I'll have a sip of coffee, I guess.
Cheers, Pete.
always great to
Your
reset
coffee.
with a nice cold Coors Light. I know, it is Monday, but who knows where you might be right now listening to this replay. So,
I've had a tough Monday already, so I was ready for it.
well, that's all about it. Time to chill, have a little Coors Light, and definitely stay tuned because we got some really big things planned with Coors Light for the season. So, things we can't talk about yet, but maybe in a couple weeks. Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I might let something out of the bag here, but definitely look forward to that. So, cheers. And also, as always, celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company from Golden, Colorado. So let's move on here to last week. I know we're getting a little bit behind ourselves here because that was so many days removed now. It's a little bit old news. But how fun was it to watch the mic'd up game last week on ESPN?
Oh, it's great. I mean, that's what you're always looking for, right? Is kind of seeing the guys bust on each other a little bit and getting a sense of how that camaraderie is built and how it shows, right? I think anybody that works together long enough in close spaces, you kind of have the ability to get at each other a little bit and make the workday go along. And, for spring training, when you're grinding it out game after game, you got a sense of how the guys are able to do that a little bit. And we already got kind of a little taste with Anthony DeComo's story at MLB.com about the Cookie Club and the guys spending time together after the game. And I think you kind of got to see, some of the fruits of those labors and the relationships and, getting an inside taste of it. Like even the reporters who are in the clubhouse, in the locker room, documenting these guys all year, they don't get to see what everybody saw as part of that broadcast. And it's such a cool thing. And, what's really interesting going forward is we found out that first base is going to be mic'd up for some portion of the season at Citi Field, that Pete Alonso has allowed it. So it won't air live like it did on ESPN. And, of course, there was an F-bomb that got through. But it will be on tape and conversations that Pete Alonso might have at first base. I mean, he talks about wine with like Freddie Freeman and just some of the nonsense that goes on over there. We'll get a sense for it on some of those broadcasts, which I think is kind of fun and kind of exciting. And I'm sure it won't be quite as open as Dom Smith saying, hey, I'm going to jump on the first fastball I see in a regular season game. It's a little different when it's spring training. But yeah, I think that opens up another avenue for you to get some insight on what makes these guys tick, their personalities. And like Pete Alonso said, he wants to be an ambassador for the game. Baseball's been good for him. He wants to promote it. And that's the kind of attitude that is great if you're a fan of the sport and you get more insight, not just what his mindset is for a given pitch, but how he goes about building relationships with teammates, with opposing players, with all those kinds of things. So I think it's great across the board. In the Cubs, they did it with the Cubs game a couple of days before the Mets game, and I heard Anthony Rizzo, and he's basically like, kind of calling what pitch he thinks is going to come and working his way through the at-bat. I mean, how could you beat that in live time, hearing a guy basically give play-by-play of his own at-bat, what he's thinking at a given time, and going through it with the announcers? It's such a neat thing.
Here's a little from Pete on that.
To actually share kind of like a live, almost a first like stream of conscious type deal going on. So it's interesting for sure, but I had a good time. The guys up in the booth were great. I think they had a fun time as well, so it was interesting.
Do you think you could do that during the regular season at all, Pete, or no?
If that's something, I mean, it'd be difficult, but I think that if we had to, in certain instances, I think that'd be. I wouldn't be for it because I'm trying to focus and lock in. But for like spring training, like I think that's the perfect scenario, an all-star game, a home run derby, something of that nature. Or I think it'd be cool to have like I'd still like the in-game dugout stuff, but during the game, I think that's really, really difficult. Maybe for an infielder, maybe for an outfielder, that would be a little bit easier. Maybe a pitcher like talking to himself, but I don't know. But for me, like when I'm active at first base, trying to communicate with other people, it can be a lot, but it's interesting. I had fun doing it, so if we keep touring around with it, then maybe it turns into something really, really cool.
Pete's the
And
man.
think about this, like if he's talking about directing the infielders and stuff like that, if he says, hey, Amed, move over a step to your left, and then the ball's hit right to him for a double play, and then you could go back after the fact and say, oh, Alonso helped set that up. I mean, that would be cool. That's the kind of insight that maybe you get after the game, but otherwise you wouldn't really know why Amed Rosario was standing where he was. If these are the kind of things that you can get out of it that just – usually you have the analysts in the booth, like maybe something that Keith Hernandez or Ron Darling would notice, and that's why they're great. But if you can get it straight from the players as they're doing it, I think that's a blast. That's fun.
So to rewind a little bit, the whole thing with Ass in the Jackpot with Terry Collins and that whole famous, video that kept every time that went up, MLB had it removed. What
it's
happens?
still floating around.
Oh yeah, but if like a prominent account posts it, they find a way to get that to come down. But
it wasn't supposed to go up.
But
that's
why
for
was
sure.
he even mic'd up anyway? You know what I mean? Because that wasn't like, was that a special thing? Like, why would Terry Collins have even had a microphone on anyway?
think it was Terry's microphone. I think it was the home plate umpire was mic'd up. And it's possible he was mic'd up. I believe it
someone
was a
got
Fox Saturday game.
Yeah, it was.
So maybe they decided to mic up the umpire for, this or that over the course of the broadcast, and something that would be as profane as what Terry was saying maybe doesn't make the cut where it ends up in the live broadcast, as it didn't, but they do have that footage in the audio, and apparently somebody leaked it after the fact, and it was years later. And Terry was
it like
already
almost a full year. Yeah.
He was already fired by the time that went out publicly. And then everyone was kind of like, yeah, that Terry Collins guy wasn't so bad. Huh? Look at the way he had his teams back in that situation. But I believe it was the home plate umpire, not Terry, that was mic'd up that day.
So I'm wondering if putting a mic on first base might potentially open up a can of worms as well, where you might start catching things that you don't necessarily want out there.
I'll give you an example. So on Monday Night Football this year, and Jets fans will remember this, they had Sam Darnold mic'd up. And it's great. The quarterback's mic'd up. Maybe you get a sense of what's happening in the game. And to some degree, they're supposed to protect the players from themselves and be cautious in what they air. And if you remember, Sam Darnold had a horrible game against the New England Patriots. And he said, I'm seeing ghosts. And it was a very honest comment that you would never say in a press conference, that you'd never say otherwise. Maybe he forgot he was mic'd up for a moment, whatever it might be. ESPN ran with it, and that became a huge thing. Is this guy ready? Can he be a big-time quarterback if he's admitting he's seeing ghosts in a game? And then the next week in Jacksonville, the Jaguars mascot came down from the sky dressed as a ghost, and they were fans of the Jaguars dressed as ghosts. They were playing like Scooby-Doo music, whatever the hell they were doing at the Jaguars game that week. So it kind of became a thing for a little while, and Darnold had a little slump, and then he got better, and it kind of got forgotten about. But that's the kind of thing that players worry about, is them saying something that can then be used against them or be embarrassing. So I think that's what you watch out for. But then, look at the XFL. They're miking up all the quarterbacks, the coaches, the offensive coordinators. And look, the football's not great, but it's interesting to have that much access and have an idea of what's going on during the game. Like Matt McGloin is complaining to Kevin Gilbride, his head coach, and McGloin was the starting quarterback for the Guardians. And you hear that whole conversation, that, quote-unquote argument that's going on during the game, and then McGloin is benched a couple minutes afterwards, and you kind of see it all develop in real time rather than guessing what the argument might be about on the sidelines.
What do you think of that? Do you think that's going to last, XFL? Is this like one and done?
I think it'll last because the TV networks, they have it on the big channels, big broadcasters. Kevin Burkhardt's doing games, right? It's on ABC. It's on Fox. I think that it's done well enough to stick around. Now, it's lost a lot of its audience, and I think it'll crater over the next month or two because you'll have, in theory, March Madness, the NCAA tournament, baseball starting up, and it'll get forgotten about. But I think for February and for a couple of weeks in March, like I've turned it on a few times and just watched a few plays, maybe not diving into a whole game anymore. But I think it's been interesting enough to have a place in the sporting world in a downtime. There's not a lot going on in February.
I heard the merch sales, if that's any indication, I heard merch sales have been very great. I know the New York jerseys, I think, are sold out. I don't think you can get them anymore. But
you mentioned the the beer snake.
Yeah.
This has become a
I saw that.
huge thing
Yeah,
at the XFL, and the XFL Twitter account promotes it. But I think it was in D.C. yesterday. They had a beer snake that went up. It had to be about 30, 40 rows that it was
more than
back.
that. More than that.
It was ginormous.
Here, let me show you.
Yeah, so here's the footage of it. And I believe this is in D.C., which has been great because they do it in the soccer stadium, so it looks like a sellout, even if it's, it's not like playing at MetLife Stadium where
a full
it looks like
section.
nobody's
That's
there.
got to be almost, let me think.
I said 30, 40 rows.
Yeah, you might be right. And
But each cup doesn't take up a whole lot, but it's become, a big thing in some areas. I think it's, people that want to get rowdy, drink in the parking lot, tailgate. All right, you go in, you watch the game, and you make the most of it. It's more affordable than an NFL game.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here at all because, fun is fun, and that's what, sports should be and entertainment and all that. But if you're concentrating on this, you're not watching the game,
No,
so
the game is secondary.
So it's the kind of I don't know how you stand on the wave. The reason why I don't like the wave is because when the wave is going on, you're not watching anything to do with the game. You're watching the wave go around the stands instead of watching the game.
Look, I think it's different with something like the Mets, an established team or sport. You have tradition, and some people are really, really into it. Now, other people, they're more casually and into the wave and things like that. Like when I was a kid, I liked the idea of the wave. Whoa, look at this thing coming around.
Right.
But I found, like MLS, I would never be able to sit down and watch a 2-hour Major League Soccer game. Mm-hmm. But I've gone with the supporter section in the past, and you stand up the whole game, you sing songs, you do this and that, chanting, whatever, and that makes it more fun, right? You have the tailgate beforehand, and you're in with everybody, and you're like part of this group. I enjoyed all of that. That was the draw to me to go into the games, and then, all right, like I can pay attention for most of the soccer game. There's goal, everybody goes nuts, and it's fun. And if you get a scoreless game, then it's not so much fun. But at least you make your own kind of entertainment throughout. So for something like XFL, you're going to live and die with a team that didn't exist a year ago? No, but this is how it starts. This is how you build it up.
Yeah. But my whole thing, I'm not claiming that I'm locked into every single pitch at a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
You're still sitting
next to your
friends. I don't think you
can't be. The sport isn't designed for that.
But if you're doing this instead of maybe if the Mets are getting blown out, 12-0, and there's no shot of coming back. Yeah, maybe you do the beer snake. But if it's like opening day and you're all fired up that you're back at the stadium, I don't feel like this is something that I'm not speaking for the group, I'm not speaking for other Mets fans, but like personally, I don't think I would want to partake in something like that when you want to watch the freaking game. But
yeah, but is throwing a cup into the beer snake really distracting
but then
you from the game?
Look at this. Look at this
There's a
clip.
couple of people that are
no one's watching the game.
Very into it.
Yeah.
There's history there, to be fair. I mean, that might be a Guinness World Record beer snake.
I guess. Anyway, don't forget, share the show if you want to win some free stuff. No hitch here. We're splitting up this. There's a bunch of stuff here into 3 boxes. One for Facebook. Just click the share button right now. Lizzie's going to select that in a little bit at random. One on the Twitter, if you're watching on Twitter or Periscope, and one afterwards on Instagram. And don't forget that the Instagram giveaway runs the entire week. So from today until next Monday, you'll have the opportunity to win this Instagram contest. So if you happen to be listening afterwards on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, anywhere you might possibly watch, or maybe on YouTube, and you want the chance to win, all you got to do is go to our Instagram account. Very easy to find, the 7 Line on Instagram. Click on today's post, which will go up just after we turn off the live stream, and all you have to do is go into the comments and write, I want some free Met stuff. It's very, very simple. Go over to Instagram and just type that, and we'll randomly select a winner on next Monday's show. So you have 7 days to do this, guys. It takes 2 seconds to leave a comment on the IG. Pete.
What?
Not a lot of noise coming out of spring training, which is generally a good thing.
Well, just the booze for the Astros.
Right.
But yeah, for the Mets, look, it's been so quiet.
Yeah.
Which is not great for us.
Right.
But it's good for the Mets. I think it's good for Mets fans, right? Like, you don't want news. Brody Van Wagenen said on that ESPN broadcast last week, nothing good happens in spring training. And he's not wrong. If there's a lot of news coming from your camp, it ain't good. The Yankees have a lot of news coming from their camp, and it ain't good. So I think for the Mets, look, the starting pitchers look good. Steven Matz has pitched very well. Rick Porcello, Michael Wacha have been fine also. Noah Syndergaard pitched fine yesterday. I mean, you just have everything kind of moving along well. Jacob deGrom's getting his innings in and not allowing any runs is normal for him. You had the scare with Brandon Nimmo and Matt Adams, and the heart testing with both of them ended up being fine. I mean, you just don't want to see injuries. Now, there is the one aspect of things for the Mets that we just haven't heard a lot about over the last week or two, and that's Yoenis Cespedes. I haven't heard any kind of update where he is at, if he's close to running the bases. They have to get him in left field at some point, you would think, over the course of spring training. We're now closing in on 2.5 weeks until opening day. There's really nothing on him, but if you're like me and you kind of thought, well, Cespedes is a bonus. If he doesn't play, so be it. I mean, you're kind of in that same holding pattern with him, with Jed Lowry as well, but it's really been low-key for the Mets. Luis Rojas is the kind of manager that doesn't attract a lot of attention one way or the other. If they had kept Carlos Beltran, it would be a much different circumstance around the Mets. They'd be hearing some of those boos that the Astros heard. So I think you understand a little further the move that the Mets made this offseason. But otherwise, look, things have been quiet, and quiet is good. You don't need a lot of news. You don't need a lot of buzz. Just get through, get to opening day, and then you can make all the noise you want.
So if there's one thing you had to be most nervous about or questioning going into the season, would it be Betances?
Yes. Yeah, the bullpen in general. I don't think Edwin Diaz has looked particularly good this offseason. I was watching Jeurys Familia yesterday, and he pitched the bases loaded, and I believe he got out of it. But it was like kind of
Betances was out there on Saturday, yeah.
But Betances throwing 88 to 90 miles an hour, that is concerning. That is not where he is at when he's at his peak. And he'll tell you, look, I'm a slow starter. This isn't abnormal for me. But last year he had the same issue where he didn't have any velocity, and then he spent a lot of time on the shelf with a shoulder injury. Tore his Achilles, or partially tore his Achilles when he came back, and he's working his way from that as well. So the Mets are making it out, hey, he got back on the mound. That's a positive, but throwing 88 to 90 miles an hour is a little scary to me. And if Betances isn't going to be effective, then you have the exact same bullpen that sunk your season last year, and now you're putting a lot of faith that Jeurys Familia and Edwin Diaz are going to be what you thought they were last year rather than what they actually were last year. So it's still that bullpen that is the scariest part of this Mets team.
So I asked on Twitter today for any questions for the show. A couple came in here. John Flynn at John Flynn 97. His question was, what is the biggest Mets story no one's talking about? I guess if it was a big story, we'd be talking about it. But can you think of anything maybe flying under the radar that you might think should be getting a little bit more attention that isn't?
Something that's not getting attention right now that should be.
Anything you could think of? If not, we just go to the next one. I can't think of anything. If it needed attention, they'd be getting it. Because right now
it's spring training. Like, I'm not going to go nuts about anybody hitting particularly well. I'm not going to go nuts about anybody slumping in spring training. To me, it's about the injuries. We talked about Dylan Betances and the concerns there. I think the starting pitching has been healthy, which is all that you really ask for right now. So I'm not sure that there's anything that needs attention that's not getting it. Look, the Mets aren't getting a lot of attention, period. If there was any kind of a story there, it would be getting attention anyway because people want to, dive into this stuff and what's going on with the Mets. So I don't think that there's anything right now. The only thing I would say, I guess I mentioned it earlier, is Cespedes. That's not getting attention.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on with him. I have no idea. We have not heard anything about Cespedes now in about a week or two.
So I saw one here from Shea Parking Lot. That's a good Twitter account. When will the Mets make a decision on Lowry? Will it be by the end of spring training? I know he's Brody's boy, but come on already. We're getting into Ellsbury territory here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think you have all the time in the world, really, because he's a guy that, how much do you expect? He's playing with this huge brace on his knee and trying to figure out what he could do. He had full workouts early, but we haven't seen him playing a whole lot in games. So, for Jed Lowry, it might take a while. I don't have any expectations he's going to help, and I think there are two things that have happened that have been good. You see the throw Luis Guillorme made yesterday to cut a runner down at the plate. I mean, a terrific relay throw. I think you have some faith that Guillorme would be fine as that backup infielder for the Mets. And you have a left-handed bat and Dom Smith, potentially Matt Adams off the bench as a pinch hitter. And they could survive without Jed Lowry. He's not going to make or break their year.
So as we talked about in the jump here, we do have some tickets up for sale that just went up today. Just to pivot here a little bit back to the games. Let me pull this up. So today at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., the Syracuse Mets tickets went up. Next Monday, the Rumble Ponies ones go up. And we updated the site. I don't know if anyone looked at this yet, but the July 11th game against the Brooklyn Cyclones, Those go up on April 14th, and those always sell out super quick. So definitely go over to the7line.com if you want to set yourself up with some reminders. Read all about it. We are sold out of home games now until June. So June 13th versus the Nationals is the next game to go up. That goes up this Friday, and it's a doozy, folks. It's going to be the Jerry Koosman number retirement before the game. The Mets are retiring number 36. And you also get this Mrs. Met bobblehead with your ticket. So it's $100. Our season ticket members take up the first 600 and some odd seats, and the back of the section, which is, where's the number here? 238 tickets will go up on Friday, this Friday at noon on Mets.com/the7line Army. So definitely set yourself up with a reminder. Last year we had the Mr. Met bobblehead, which was going up for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Not that I'm trying to convince you to buy a ticket to sell this bobblehead, but you are going to get the Mrs. Met limited edition bobblehead, the Jerry Koosman number retirement before the game, and the ticket to the game as well. So it's going to be a fun time. Definitely set a reminder. Buy tickets on Friday. So
what did we decide her name is now, Mrs. Met?
Someone Googled it, and I guess there's an article that says her name is Jan.
Oh.
Jan.
Yeah, that's boring.
But maybe they named her Jan in like the 60s or something when Mrs. Met first came out. I don't know if that's proven. I have to check my sources, but I saw a screenshot that said her name is Jan, but I'm not buying that. What did you go by again? What did you say?
Jan Met. I said Joan for Joan Payson.
Joan. I like Joan. Joan or Shannon, either. Maybe they could be Joan Shannon or Shannon Joan together. So that's this Friday, and definitely set yourself up with a reminder on that. I was listening to the broadcast yesterday. I was down in Jersey riding my dirt bike, getting ready for my race in 2 weeks.
Oh, boy.
And in between riding, I was listening to the game and how he was talking about how he feels that a lot of numbers, or a lot of guys, not that they were snubbed, but for whatever reason, the Mets weren't retiring numbers for a number of reasons, whatever it could be. But he said now that they're retiring Koosman, he thinks the floodgates will be open, and
Yes.
there's a number of guys that he could see over the next couple of years. So
It
we
had
might
always
be
been Hall of Famers. That was the line.
Right,
You'd
right.
be a Mets Hall of Famer, Tom Seaver, and then Mike Piazza. And now that you go down to Koosman, well, now it opens things up a little bit more. So you figure David Wright will have his number 5 retired at some point down the line. And then you start revisiting, I think, the 86 Mets.
Keith,
and
yeah.
someone like Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter. And, how far do you want to go with that team that accomplished so much?
Absolutely. And I don't ever want to go the route of the Yankees. I think they've retired way too many. They have like multiple numbers that are for multiple guys that are retired in their canyon, whatever they call it. What's it called? Canyon of Heroes?
Canyon of Heroes, the Monument Park.
Monument Park. Oh, okay.
Canyon of Heroes is the parade. Monument Park.
Drunk as hell on a parade float there. So we'll see what happens, but I think that getting the winningest lefty in the history of the team is definitely a great start for the third player to go into the Hall. So we'll see what happens down the road. So Lizzie, let's get to the share contest.
Do you have the paper that I wrote the winner from last week?
No.
Is it at the bottom of Pete's?
No, it's not. Where'd you
Oh.
put it? Maybe it's on your desk.
Maybe.
So Lizzie's about to go grab the winner from last week, which, what was last week? A gift card for the 7 Lines website. So definitely set yourself up with a reminder for those ticket sales. Lizzie's going to announce last week's winner for the gift card. Lizzie, take it away.
Okay. Last week's winner for the gift card is Dave Lang.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. That's DMLANG. So congrats, Dave.
And then did you select today's winners for
I
this free Met
did.
stuff?
Today's Facebook winner is Matt Mackin. And the Twitter winner is Peter, and his handle is @tweetscala.
Awesome.
Congrats, guys.
All right, guys, congrats. We'll get your addresses and mail you out all this stuff. Before we move on, this story came up a couple days ago, and this is very un-Yankee-like, I think. So the Yankees minor league team quickly canceled their O.J. Simpson trial night. How did this ever get approved to begin with?
I have no idea. Some of these minor league teams just want the headline and to get the attention, and they want to straddle the line of what's appropriate and what's not. Which affiliate was it?
It was the Charleston River Dogs, their single A affiliate in the South Atlantic League, quickly pulled a promotion dubbed OJ Trial Night that was scheduled for
What
May 26th.
does Charleston have to do with this anyway? I don't.
I don't know. But it said, after taking a step back and having further reflection on the overall message that was being conveyed, it was a responsible thing to do, I guess, was to cancel it. But they had a bunch of different things where the fans were the jury. The fans will act as our jury, voting with custom paddles to reach verdicts on various topics throughout the night. The eyes of the nation will be upon us. Fans will receive an OJ trial shirt upon entering the stadium. If the shirt doesn't fit, you must get a different size instead of you must acquit. Okay. Wild that they thought this was going to go over. Well, like you said, maybe they knew it wasn't.
And a lot of these minor league teams, you have like 20-something-year-old people who didn't live through any of this that are coming up with the ideas of what's a good idea, what's something, an anniversary that we could hit and have some fun with. And I'm sure there wasn't, they just didn't think it all the way through.
I'm trying to think of the name.
I don't.
Have you seen
the
the
risk
documentary?
reward is not worthwhile. Which, the 30 for 30?
No, the minor league documentary. Kurt Russell's dad used to own a minor league baseball team, and I think Seattle. You ever heard of this?
No.
Oh, shit, it's gonna kill me if I don't know. Let me just Google this really quick. Which I feel like people should always Google first before asking the internet. I feel like you always see stuff on Twitter like, "Hey, where can I buy this?" Just Google it. If you can't find the answer on Google, then ask the internet. Someone might be saying it in the comments here. What is it called? The Battered Bastards of Baseball. If you guys are ever looking for something to watch, and I think it's on Netflix. So The Battered Bastards of Baseball. It's unbelievable. So this is something that they might do. It's a great doc. You should definitely watch it. It's any baseball fan would.
And it's about minor league baseball and how they market the teams and things like that.
It was crazy. Yeah, like the Kurt Russell's dad owned the team. Kurt Russell was the bat boy, and it was wild. Their promotions were crazy. It's definitely a great
Bill Vex
doc.
style exploding scoreboards and disco demolition night and all that.
It was nuts. So, all right, guys, listen, we are 17 days away from opening day. Hopefully things start to cool off as far as this whole coronavirus scare. I'm definitely not a doctor, so don't take my advice for anything. But I feel like if you continue to live your life the way you already have been, but just take, as I touch my face, take extra precautions to try to stay clean, I think you should be doing all right. So if you want one of these, don't forget, if you want one of these, what do they call these? These knob shots from our friends over at Dugout Mugs, go to dugoutmugs.com/OABT. The first 100 are free. Just pay the shipping and handling. Lizzie is showing me something that I can't read.
It says New York State has the most confirmed coronavirus cases in the nation.
All right, let's end it with that. All right.
Whoop.
All right, guys.
Enjoy your week.
That's an orange and blue thing. We'll see you next Monday. Shout out to Coors Light. I can't wait for some fun stuff with you guys this season. Let's go Mets, 17 days. Hopefully nice weather out there at Citi Field for the opener. Let's go.